Hey YouTube, it's your girl Stacy back again with another video, and this one I am just so excited. I got to make curry goat for the goat. Let's go. Alright, so for our fresh ingredients, we're going to start with some green onion. Then we're going to also get some peppers, which I went with some green peppers, some red peppers, and orange peppers. And I also have some ginger and garlic, and of course, a Scotch bonnet. We're also going to add some onions and some tomatoes. Just something that I learned with the tomatoes is that it helps with the stewing process because, yes, this is going to stew down for some time. So the tomatoes add a nice acidic flavor to it, which balances the curry really, really well. So now we're moving on to our thyme. I got some fresh thyme here, and I'm just gonna cut up some of those stems in there. I usually cut just the soft part of the stems. I don't use the hard sticks. Sometimes they do get in there. It is what it is. I chopped up the Scotch bonnet pepper, one of them, and I didn't cut it up with the seeds. I realized that I do need to add that special key component in order to allow for there to be some subtle heat in the flavor profile when making this. So yes, take a Scotch bonnet pepper and chop it up. And of course, you see I have plenty garlic. I love me some garlic, but I love garlic. So you don't have to use as much as I did. However, go ahead and just throw that garlic in there. This goat meat has been properly cleaned. When I tell you, I have rinsed this down several times with water, and then I let it soak with some vinegar and water, equal parts, after having, rubbed it down with some lime. Fresh lime always works best. I like to use fresh lime because it also helps to cut down the gaminess. Now we're gonna go ahead and start seasoning. I love me some pimento seeds. It's in there. We got some of the all-purpose seasoning going in there, some adobo, and I'm just going ahead and eyeballing everything. You know me, a pinch of this and a pinch of that, hence why I changed the name, because that's just what I do. And then we got some garlic powder going in, and I also am gonna throw in some powdered ginger as well. And this is the dried thyme that I'm adding to it. Yes, I use a bit of both. Why not? Bring out flavors, man. And now I have the goat and duck seasoning. So here's where you got to be very careful, because this seasoning is, I didn't even read, I don't know why, I just got so excited to be making goat for Cliff that I totally didn't pay attention to the fact that it was the very hot one. So The first time I had made the goat, I had to balance the flavor and get the heat because he doesn't like things too spicy. So this round, I was smart enough to mix the lalas with the goat and duck seasoning with it, so it got a nice balance. Camera slipping. So we're gonna add some salt. I got my new salt shaker, my new pepper shakers. I love them so much. Push the button and there you go. Although the pepper does take a lot longer to get out the amounts that I want than the salt, but I'm really happy about them. So moving along, I'm gonna go ahead and add some of my green seasoning. I'm gonna use the rest of what I have, and I'm gonna add that there. I do have a fresh batch of green seasoning that I'm gonna make while this is marinating in the fridge. So you go ahead now and add all of your fresh ingredients, all the peppers and onions and tomato, and you're gonna mix everything together. As I'm mixing, I'm gently massaging all the spices into the meat and basically, giving it the love and TLC that it needs. I just love to just get my hands in there and start mixing away, as you see here. So after mixing this up for a little bit, I started to notice that it did need a bit more of the curry powder. So I went ahead and added equal parts of the lalas and the curry goat seasoning to this mix, and then finishing it off with some of the cooking oil. I love to put the cooking oil onto the meat because it does help for the spices and seasonings and the ingredients flavors to draw out and to adhere to the meat better. It's just something that I learned along the way. I could be wrong, but let me tell you, I'm not gonna try to act like this doesn't work. I'm sticking to what I was taught and what I know best, and at the end of the day, these flavors just pop. So do add some oil to it. Once you're done mixing everything up, you're gonna put that in some Ziploc bags. And I say bags because I had so many pieces of goat that I needed 2 Ziploc bags. And I let that sit in the fridge for 2 days. Now you don't have to let yours sit for 2 days. You can do it for 4 hours. You can throw it straight into a pot if you want to and start your stewing process. However, I did it for 2 days because of the fact that I just wanted the flavors to sit in there and marinate and marry, and just, the longer the better. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I did. And then once done and ready to cook, after 2 days of sitting, I put that into a pot and I just let it stew down. I didn't add any liquid or anything to that. I let it sit with the lid on at medium to low heat. And at this point of this video, you'll see that it's got its own juices. I didn't add anything to it. It's just stewing in its own flavor. So now I'm adding some water after about an hour of it sitting and stewing and me stirring it up. I did add some water to it because this is the process and part where I go ahead and I add the coconut milk and any additional flavors that need to be added so that it can stew again for another hour on the stove. I go ahead and add, that's a big Scotch bonnet, but I did take it out. It is necessary. It does add some nice flavor. Oh God, man, after the chopped up one is stewing in there for some time, it does, the flavor, the heat does kind of fade away. So you go ahead and add some more. So I went and added a little bit more curry powder. I added some cubed herbs and spices. Then I went and added a beef stock cube in there. There's in my fresh batch of my green seasoning. I'm gonna add some nice 3 dolloping spoonfuls. Always getting so excited and tongue-tied. So you see all the flavors in there and I'm mixing it all up in there. And I'm gonna let that just stew down for, like I said, about an hour. I keep checking on it every 30 minutes or so, but I generally let it just stew for an hour and let that do the do. So as you can see, I went ahead and I added some carrots and onions to this. I love carrots in my goat. You don't have to do it, but I add them after, and then I let that stew down. And then once I let it stew down for another hour, I go ahead and add the potatoes. So you see the color of the sauce had darkened, and that's because of the curry powder that I had added to it. And no browning, just the curry powder, which was the goat curry powder. And I did, oh my God, I did put the ram up seasoning in there. A lot of mercy, that shit is, that stuff is really, really good. All right, so now we're getting on to our callaloo, or our stew, callaloo and spinach, to which I have here. Now, I wanted to make some veggies for Cliff, and so I decided I was going to go ahead and stew him up some pumpkin with some dasheen and spinach and some peppers and garlic and ginger. And here you see some tomatoes and onions and peppers. I said peppers twice. There you go. I'm adding the Scotch bonnet pepper. That's the first peppers I was mentioning, with the garlic and the ginger and some of the pimento seeds. So I'm going to start with sauteing them up in some oil, and then I'm going to add the other peppers, which are the green, red, and orange, and some onions to that. And I'm going to saute that down nicely for about 15 minutes. I'm going to add some salt and pepper and just let that simmer. So after I mix up all the peppers with the onions and the salt and pepper, I do go ahead and I do add, I don't believe I showed that step when making this video, but I do add a cube of the veggie stock and a cube of the herb spice that I did use with the curry goat. And I let that simmer down with the coconut milk and some thyme. Now we're going to add our pumpkin. Now I boiled the pumpkin for about 5 minutes in a separate pot, just because I know that it takes long to cook. And I decided to add the pumpkin in there just because, you know, I feel like it's just a healthy part of this meal. So I wanted to make it really, really healthy for him. So in addition to the spinach and the dasheen, I did put pumpkin in my callaloo. And then I added some thyme to it and started to just stew this down. Next, we're moving on to adding our diced tomatoes, and we're going to mix this all together and stew it down for about 5 minutes. I just want to let it stew long enough for the tomato to get some of the flavors of the peppers and the pumpkin and the dry ingredients. Next, we're going to add our dasheen, our callaloo, and our spinach, which I cleaned and diced and mixed together. Yes, I am stuffing this saucepan with all of it because, truth be told, this is going to shrink, and you will see that it does real quickly. So here it is once it's cooked down. Yes, that is what came of all of that we put in the pot that you see was spilling over. And I'm going to add the coconut milk. Now the coconut milk, Lord God of mercy, this just ties everything in. And I'm going to let that sit and stew down for about 15 minutes. That's what it looks like. And I'm going to let that sit. Now the goat is ready. It's ready to be put into some Tupperware and taken to work so I can serve it to Mr. Method Man, aka Cliff as we know him.
It was made by the wonderful Stacy. We're about to see what we got up in this bag right here. Ooh, wait a minute. Oh, y'all ain't ready. Bong! Oh, them just burnt this motherfucker. we won't include that one. I like them burnt. Okay. Ooh. Ooh, vegetables. Or as the Jamaicans say, vegetables. Vegetables. Love that. Oh, we eating, baby. Ooh, okay, is this what I think it is? Peas and rice. yes, yes, yes. She done gave me the whole. Let me see what's going on.
Homemade hot sauce.
That's the hot sauce, but she done gave me the whole goat. Let me see. Damn. Stacy, first off, thank you very, very much. It's right on time because I get a cheat day today. See the abs is having? Yeah. So, I earned. Woo. Fire. Blood. Blood fire. Thank you, State, and thanks you, Mom, for teaching her how to make it. That's the real goat right there. Fuck what you heard all these rappers talking about they the goat. It's right there.
So this is what the vegetables look like as I was getting them ready to package up for Cliff. And I don't take all of the juice from the pan. I do use one of those spoons that allow for you to strain out some of the liquid. And this is my plate that I made for myself, because you don't know already, I have to have a plate for myself to eat. So there's the callaloo with the pumpkin. It was so good. Oh gosh. As Cliff said, blood fire. And we got some fried plantains with it. These ones I didn't burn. I want to thank each and every one of you for partaking in this. My God, this amazing moment in time for me to be able to cook for someone who I feel is so legendary to me, Method Man, aka Cliff. Thank you to my viewers, my new subscribers. Each and every one of you are so appreciated by me. Thank you for your patience. I truly appreciate each and every one of y'all. Have yourselves a lovely day. Thanks again for watching. And remember, God is so good, like so good, y'all. All the time, and all the time, God is so good. Have a blessed day.